world of Parkinson's when my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's about 2 years ago, and I'm also one of the leaders of the Bury support group. Today, I'm going to talk about Parkinson's disease and the impact it can have on those living with Parkinson's and on their carers. I'll also recommend some of the support services that are available. Parkinson's disease was named after, but not by, Dr. James Parkinson, who over 200 years ago described it as the shaking palsy. Parkinson's disease is a neurological condition in which parts of the brain become progressively damaged. The main symptoms are involuntary shaking of parts of the body, known as tremors, nerve pain, slow movements, dizziness or fainting, stiff and inflexible muscles. A person living with Parkinson's may experience all or just some of these symptoms, and they may experience other physical and psychological symptoms. These include balance problems, and this may increase the chances of a fall, loss of smell, trouble sleeping, memory problems, depression, and anxiety. If you feel that you may have Parkinson's, then consult your GP. In the early stages, it may be difficult to get a definitive diagnosis because the symptoms are usually mild. If your GP suspects that you may have Parkinson's, he will usually refer you to a specialist, probably a neurologist, who's a specialist dealing in conditions affecting the brain and nervous system. Parkinson's is caused by the loss of nerve cells in the brain. These nerve cells are responsible for producing a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine acts as a messenger between the parts of the brain and the nervous system that help to control and coordinate bodily movements. This lack of dopamine results in movements becoming slow and abnormal. My own husband was actually diagnosed when he'd consulted somebody about gallstones. The medical practitioner that he saw noticed that he shuffled, and he said, "Has anyone ever suggested that you might have Parkinson's?" As a family, we noticed that he was shuffling, but we thought it was just a symptom of aging. This shuffling gait is typical of Parkinson's. Another typical symptom is what is known as the Parkinson's mask. Jeremy Paxman was on television on University Challenge, and a viewer noticed that his face was rather expressionless. He got in touch with him, and it was from that he discovered that he had Parkinson's. Although there's currently no cure for Parkinson's, treatments are available to help and to maintain quality of life for as long as possible. These include medications, usually initially aimed at replacing the lost dopamine, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. Any of these might be appropriate to help ease the symptoms. In very rare cases, brain surgery is performed. As the condition progresses, the symptoms can get worse. However, it's really important to remember that everyone with Parkinson's is on their own individual journey. No two cases of Parkinson's are the same. They don't progress at the same rate necessarily. People don't suffer all the symptoms. And for some people, it never develops to more than a mild or moderate disease. Obviously, for others, unfortunately, they become increasingly disabled. An initial diagnosis will be very upsetting, but there are lots of support agencies available, and there are things that you can do to help yourself. So the things I'd suggest are: try to stay mentally and physically healthy. Exercise regularly according to what you're able to do. If you're able to do this, go to the gym. If not, try to have a walk. Maybe it's only appropriate to do exercises in a chair, but try to keep yourself physically as fit as possible. Eat a balanced diet. Accept the support of family and friends. Lots of people are quite stubborn about remaining independent, but people are very willing to help, and it's really important that you try to accept this. It's important that you talk to your GP and to a Parkinson's nurse if you can get into contact with one of those. The other agency that offers a lot of support is Parkinson's UK. They're experts in all aspects of Parkinson's and are very willing to help. The ways to contact them are: you can phone them on 0808 800 0303. You can email them. The email address is hello@parkinsons.org.uk. Or you can look on the website where there's an absolute wealth of information. The kinds of information that's there, some of it's about medical issues, such as symptoms and treatment. Some of it's about employment and benefits. For some people living with Parkinson's, attendance allowances might be appropriate, carers allowance. Sometimes it's possible to get a reduction in council tax. And this website would advise you on all those matters. It would advise you about health and social care, emotional support, local support groups, and would signpost you to other areas of information. Parkinson's UK have advisors who are willing to talk to you and help you, as well as looking on screen for information. You could actually talk to somebody about the issues that are bothering you. The other way to help yourself is to get involved in a local support group. I'm involved with the Bury group. There is a group in Bolton which meets at the King's Church, which actually is on the Bury side of Bolton, so isn't so far away. But our Bury group meets at Bolton Road Methodist Church, Bolton Road, BL8 2NZ. We meet on the first Monday of the month, and the meetings are from 2 till 4. The group offers friendship and support, and I think it's very helpful to talk to other people who are in the same situation, both for those who are living with Parkinson's and for their carers. Carers can be under a lot of stress, have a lot of anxieties, and I think it's really important for them, as well as for the person who's actually living with Parkinson's, to have the opportunity to talk to others. Caring for people with Parkinson's can become increasingly difficult. At our monthly meetings, we usually have a speaker, although we may go out. Last month, we went out for a meal. In August, we're having an outing. But and at Christmas, we have a Christmas meal out. But for the other months, we usually have a speaker. This may be Parkinson's related. For example, in July, the consultant from Fairfield Hospital is coming to talk to us, and I'm sure the people in the group will have lots and lots of questions for him. Sometimes we have speakers on a totally unrelated topic to Parkinson's. I think sometimes when you live in the world of Parkinson's, it's quite nice to just escape for a little while. And so we've had a speaker, for instance, who was an ex-customs officer who told us all about the lengths that smugglers go to. Next month, we're having a solicitor who's going to tell us about the funny side of the law. So we do have a contrast. I think, you know, it's important. It's important to get information about Parkinson's and different agencies that can support you, or we might have somebody from a drug company, for instance. But I think it's also important to have a change, to escape, to just perhaps forget about Parkinson's for a little while. At the end of the meeting, there's always tea and cake and an opportunity to talk and exchange information. And I think this is really important. It gives people who are living with Parkinson's and their carers a chance to talk to other people in the same situation and to exchange information. At our group, we also have a session on the third Monday of the month. And we play a game called Kurling with a K. It's a variation on the standard curling, but it's been adapted so that people of all abilities and disabilities can join in. It's a fun session, and again, it ends with tea and cake, and a chance to sit and chat and exchange information and to support each other. And in some ways, probably this part of the morning is just as important, if not more so, than the actual curling itself. It takes place on the third Monday of the month, and it starts at 10:30. I hope you found this information helpful. Has anybody got any questions?
Oh, thank you so much for this. That was really, really useful, really helpful. I can include all the contact details in the description of this video as well, or if it's people watch it on Facebook, I can add them in the comments. So thank you. And just to add as well, I have been to visit the group and I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and you can feel the friendship and warmth between people there. So it's definitely worthwhile visiting. If you do experience Parkinson or caring for somebody. And the guest speakers that you have lined up are absolutely brilliant as well.
It's quite exciting, really. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. We do have a couple of questions. So let me just have a quick look. So the first one is about, so somebody's saying, my father had a Parkinson's disease and I am worried that I also may have it. Is there anything I can do to prevent it? Or what are the symptoms to look out for? Sorry, I know you already covered some of the symptoms, but...
Yes. As regards being worried about developing Parkinson's, I think you have to remind yourself that the risk is very low. Nobody knows exactly why Parkinson's develops. It's supposed to be perhaps maybe a link between environmental factors and genetic factors, but it's thought that less than 10% of people with Parkinson's have some genetic predisposition. So the risk is low, and you don't have to worry too much that it's going to develop. There isn't anything you can do to prevent it as such, but I think, as with all diseases, Parkinson's, cancer, strokes, heart problems, a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet is always terribly helpful. I think I mentioned the main symptoms before: tremors, involuntary movements, balance problems, stiff muscles, etc. So these are the things to look at. But please don't worry too much, because you know it's not thought of particularly as an hereditary disease, and the risk of developing it.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we've got another question from the member of the public as well. So somebody's saying, I am caring for someone with a Parkinson's disease, but finding it very isolating, and it has started affecting my well-being. Are there any respite options available locally?
Okay, that's a good question. It's very natural to feel overwhelmed as a carer for somebody who's living with Parkinson's, particularly as the disease develops. Help is available. Do contact your GP and also contact social services, and they will tell you about respite opportunities locally. These may be opportunities provided by the welfare state. It may be that private care homes can offer respite care either to yourself or to the person who actually has Parkinson's. Sometimes you can be offered time out to go shopping or to do your own thing while somebody comes in to look after the person with Parkinson's. Sometimes there are opportunities for them to go to daycare centres. So I think if you contact social services, you can find out what's available in your area. And do also take advantage of the support groups that I've mentioned. If you are feeling low, maybe joining a group like ours. I think it's really therapeutic to talk to somebody who's in the same situation, so you don't feel so alone as if you're the only person in the world with this problem. And often people share information and they have things that they can tell you about that may be very relevant to your situation. Okay.
Oh, thank you. That was really good. That was really helpful. Right. And the last question that we've had from a member of the public. Somebody's saying, I have been diagnosed with the Parkinson's disease. Can I still carry on working? And if so, am I eligible to apply for flexible working?
Employers have specific responsibilities when it comes to supporting employees with Parkinson's disease. Obviously, they are required to make what are called reasonable adjustments. If you had a job like a roofer or a scaffolder, that might be really difficult to combine with living with Parkinson's. But for most people, there are reasonable adjustments that can be made. Under the Equality Act of 2010, if you've got a disease like Parkinson's, you would be classed as disabled and therefore eligible for various adjustments to be made. These adjustments have to be reasonable, but there are lots of things that employers can do. For instance, they can adjust the working environment. Maybe you need a different chair, maybe you need a more supportive chair, a telephone with large buttons. Maybe you need to work on the ground floor if you're in a building where there's no lift. So these are the kinds of adjustments that need to be made. Employers aren't allowed to discriminate against you because you've got Parkinson's, and they are obliged to adjust the environment. As far as flexible working goes, there are all kinds of things that might be possible that maybe you can negotiate with an employer. For instance, if you've got very stiff muscles and it's hard to get going in the morning, then maybe you need to agree that you can arrive later, take your time about the arrival time, maybe have a shorter working day if you get very tired. You might need more regular breaks, for instance, if you have to take medication. So these are the kinds of things that employers are required to do. So it's important. You don't have to tell your employer that you've got Parkinson's, but in most cases, it's best to tell them and to work together to overcome any obstacles. Is that information helpful, perhaps?
Yes, yeah, thank you. That's really informative. I really appreciate that. And I'll put any